The rain poured relentlessly, creating puddles in the cracked pavement of an empty park. Beneath a broken bench, barely visible in the dim light of a stormy evening, a tiny puppy huddled, its frail body trembling. Its matted fur clung to its thin frame, and its wide, fearful eyes scanned the deserted surroundings for a glimmer of safety. The puppy's small whimpers were lost in the sound of raindrops striking the ground, each one seeming to echo the helplessness of its fragile existence. This abandoned puppy had known nothing but hardship, a world that had turned its back on it when it needed love the most. Alone, shivering, and drenched, it was a heartbreaking picture of vulnerability, a soul desperate for a second chance. But fate has a way of intervening when hope feels lost. Unbeknownst to the puppy, a kind-hearted stranger was about to enter its life, bringing warmth, compassion, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. This encounter would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one filled with small triumphs, deep bonds, and an inspiring transformation that will leave your heart full. Stay tuned as we unravel this emotional story of survival, trust, and the unyielding power of kindness. Witness how one act of compassion can turn despair into hope, and remind us all of the incredible connection we share with the animals who depend on us. This is a journey you won't want to miss. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories that celebrate the resilience of the animal spirit. Together, let's share the message of hope and the transformative power of love. The park was quiet except for the rhythmic patter of rain against the pavement. For most people, it was a day to stay indoors, avoiding the dreary weather. But for Emma, a young woman on her way home from work, the park was a shortcut she often took, even on days like this. Clutching her umbrella tightly against the wind, she hurried along the path, her mind occupied with the demands of her busy day. Then she heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible whimper. Emma stopped in her tracks, straining to locate the sound. Over the rain. It came again, this time clearer, like a tiny plea for help. Her eyes darted around until they landed on a shadow under a broken bench a few feet away. Squinting through the rain, she could make out the shape of a small puppy, curled tightly into itself, shivering violently. Emma's heart clenched. She slowly approached, her steps soft and deliberate, not wanting to frighten the already terrified creature. As she crouched down, the puppy's eyes met hers, wide, dark, and filled with fear. Its tiny body flinched, pressing further against the cold, wet ground as if trying to disappear. "Hey there, little one," Emma murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. She extended her hand cautiously, palm open. The puppy didn't move, its small, matted ears pinned back against its head. The rain continued to pour, soaking both of them as Emma waited patiently, hoping the puppy would sense her good intentions. After what felt like an eternity, the puppy shifted slightly, its hesitant movement showing both fear and curiosity. It sniffed the air tentatively, then took a cautious step forward before retreating again. Emma's heart ached at the sight. "It's okay," she said gently, her voice steady despite the lump forming in her throat. "I'm here to help." Emma's thoughts raced as she knelt in the rain, watching the trembling puppy. Her day had already been long, and her evening was filled with commitments she couldn't easily ignore. She glanced at her phone, noting the time and the growing list of tasks she needed to accomplish. Could she really take on the responsibility of helping this fragile little creature? Her logical side told her to call animal services and let them handle it. After all, she wasn't equipped to care for an abandoned puppy, and her apartment didn't allow pets. But as she looked back at the tiny, shivering figure before her, those excuses felt hollow. This puppy didn't have the luxury of waiting. She stood up momentarily, pacing under the weight of the decision. The puppy's eyes followed her movements cautiously, its small body sinking further into itself as if sensing the potential for abandonment once again. Emma's chest tightened. Walking away wasn't an option, not when this little life was so clearly on the line. She sighed deeply, her mind made up. Dropping her bag to the ground, she pulled out a scarf and approached the puppy again. This time with quiet determination. "All right, little one," she said softly. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The puppy recoiled as Emma reached out, its small legs trembling as if ready to bolt. She paused, holding her hand steady and whispering soothing words. After several tense moments, the puppy hesitated, then allowed her to gently wrap the scarf around its fragile body. Lifting the puppy into her arms, Emma felt its small frame quiver against her chest. It was so light, its ribs prominent under its damp fur. As she adjusted her hold, the puppy whimpered faintly but didn't struggle. Instead, it rested its head against her, its tiny body slowly relaxing as warmth replaced the cold rain. Emma hurried toward her car, shielding the puppy as best as she could from the rain. Her mind was a flurry of thoughts. Where would she take it, how would she care for it, and what would come next? Despite the uncertainties, one thing was clear. This puppy had already stolen a piece of her heart. As she secured the puppy in the passenger seat, wrapping it in her spare jacket, Emma felt an unexpected wave of emotion. She didn't know what the future held for this little one, but she knew she couldn't walk away. Driven by compassion, she resolved to do whatever it took to give this abandoned puppy a second chance at life. The car engine hummed to life, and Emma glanced at the puppy curled up beside her, its eyes fluttering closed for the first time in what she guessed had been a long, terrifying day. With a determined breath, she pulled onto the road, ready to face the challenges ahead. Sometimes, she thought, life gives us moments where we have to make a choice, where logic takes a back seat and compassion leads the way. For Emma, this was one of those moments, and she wouldn't have it any other way. Emma carried the puppy through the door of her modest apartment, her arms cradling its fragile body. The warm air inside was a stark contrast to the cold rain outside, and she gently set the puppy down on a soft towel she had prepared on the living room floor. The puppy didn't move at first, its body still trembling from fear and exhaustion. Emma knelt beside it, speaking softly. "You're safe now, little one. I promise." She fetched a bowl of warm water and some scraps of boiled chicken, setting them a few feet away. The puppy sniffed the air but made no move toward the food. Instead, it curled into a tight ball, its matted fur damp against the towel. Emma's heart ached at the sight, but she knew this was only the beginning of a long journey. She decided to give the puppy space, letting it adjust to its new surroundings at its own pace. That night, Emma slept on the couch, close enough to keep an eye on the puppy but far enough to avoid overwhelming it. Each time she stirred, she would catch glimpses of the puppy's cautious movements, its wide eyes scanning the room, unsure of its new environment. It was clear that trust would not come easily. In the following days, Emma maintained a routine of quiet care. She left food and water nearby, always retreating to a respectful distance. The puppy ate sparingly, only when it was sure Emma wasn't watching. Any sudden movement from her would send it scurrying to the corner of the room, pressing itself against the wall as though trying to disappear. Emma's patience never wavered. She spoke gently to it, her tone a steady reassurance that no harm would come its way. After a week of quiet care, Emma noticed the first sign of progress. As she sat on the floor reading, the puppy crept closer, its small frame low to the ground as it cautiously sniffed the air. Emma held her breath, resisting the urge to move. The puppy stopped a few feet away, its wide eyes fixed on her. For the first time, there was a glimmer of curiosity in its gaze, a tiny spark of hope. The next morning, Emma woke to a sound she hadn't expected, the gentle scrape of paws against the floor as the puppy approached the food bowl in her presence. It was a small moment, but to Emma it felt monumental. She sat still, watching as the puppy ate with tentative bites, its body still tense but less fearful. A few days later, the puppy wagged its tail for the first time. Emma had been sitting on the floor, tossing a soft toy gently in the puppy's direction. At first it ignored her, but then it took a hesitant step forward, sniffing the toy. When Emma smiled and spoke softly, the puppy's tail gave a tiny wag, a movement so slight it might have been missed by anyone else. Emma's heart swelled. Encouraged by the progress, Emma scheduled a vet visit to address the puppy's health. At the clinic, the vet examined the puppy thoroughly, her expression growing serious as she noted the physical scars. "This little one has been through a lot," she said gently, pointing out patches of missing fur and old injuries that had healed poorly. "There's malnourishment too, but with proper care, it'll recover physically." The vet's tone grew somber as she addressed the emotional scars. "The fear and hesitation you've seen, it's likely from trauma. It's going to take time, patience, and consistency for this puppy to feel safe again. But you're already doing the right things." Emma nodded, her resolve deepening. She thanked the vet and carried the puppy back to the car, its small body pressed close to hers. The puppy trembled slightly, but this time it didn't flinch away from her touch. Over the next few weeks, Emma devoted herself to the puppy's care. She named it Lucky, a reminder of the second chance it had been given. Slowly but surely, Lucky began to open up. It would take cautious steps toward Emma when she sat on the floor, its tail wagging faintly as it approached. At night, it would settle on the edge of her couch, no longer cowering in the corner. One evening, as Emma reached out her hand, Lucky sniffed her fingers and then, to her surprise, licked them gently. Tears welled in Emma's eyes as she whispered, "You're doing so well, Lucky. I'm so proud of you." Though there were still moments of hesitation and fear, each small victory felt monumental. Lucky's transformation had begun, not just in its physical health, but in its trust and spirit. Emma knew the road ahead would still have its challenges, but with every wag of Lucky's tail and every step forward, she was reminded of the incredible resilience that love and patience could inspire. Emma quickly realized that trust would not come easily for Lucky. Each day, she followed a routine designed to make the puppy feel safe without pushing it too far. In the mornings, Emma would prepare Lucky's food and set it down in a quiet corner of the room, then sit nearby, careful not to make sudden movements. She'd read or hum softly, ensuring Lucky grew accustomed to her presence without feeling threatened. At first, Lucky remained distant, his small body pressed against the wall, his wide eyes constantly watching Emma for any sign of danger. But Emma stayed patient, giving him the time and space he needed. Over the next few weeks, she began to notice subtle changes. Lucky's trembling lessened, and his posture became less rigid when she entered the room. One breakthrough moment came, during a particularly quiet evening. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, reading aloud from a book, her voice steady and calm. Lucky, lying a few feet away, raised his head and watched her intently. For the first time, he didn't retreat when their eyes met. Instead, he shifted slightly closer, his small frame still low to the ground. Emma held her breath, pretending not to notice, allowing Lucky to make the choice on his own. By the end of the week, Lucky took his first tentative steps toward Emma while she was seated on the floor. His movements were slow and deliberate, his tail tucked tightly against his body, but the effort was monumental. When he reached her, he sniffed her hand cautiously before darting back to his corner. Emma felt a wave of emotion wash over her. It was a small gesture, but it represented a massive leap in their journey toward trust. That night, for the first time, Lucky curled up on a soft blanket in the middle of the room instead of hiding in the corner. His small body rose and fell in peaceful sleep, and Emma couldn't help but smile. The sound of his soft snores filled the room, a testament to the progress they had made together. As days turned into weeks, Lucky's small steps toward trust grew more frequent. He began approaching Emma regularly during her quiet reading sessions, his tail wagging faintly. Emma started to introduce simple games, rolling a ball gently across the floor or offering him a soft toy to chew on. At first, Lucky seemed unsure, staring at the toy as though it were something unfamiliar. But one day he reached out a paw, hesitantly tapping the ball back toward Emma. Her laughter filled the room as she encouraged him with soft praise. One afternoon, Emma called Lucky's name from across the room. To her surprise, his ears perked up, and he turned toward her. Though he didn't come immediately, his reaction was enough to fill her with joy. She repeated his name several times over the next few days, pairing it with gentle gestures and treats. Eventually, Lucky began to recognize it. trotting over to her with cautious excitement whenever she called. Their bond deepened further during their daily walks. Emma introduced Lucky to the outside world slowly, starting with short strolls in a quiet park. Lucky was skittish at first, his head darting in every direction at unfamiliar sounds. But with Emma by his side, speaking to him in a reassuring tone, he grew more confident. One day, as they walked along a tree-lined path, Lucky surprised Emma by wagging his tail enthusiastically and sniffing the air with curiosity. Evenings became their favorite time together. Lucky would curl up beside Emma on the couch, his small body resting against her leg. She would stroke his fur gently, feeling the tension leave his body as he relaxed under her touch. The once terrified puppy now sought her presence, his trust, in her growing stronger with each passing day. The first time Lucky rested his head on Emma's lap, she couldn't hold back her tears. It was a quiet moment, but it spoke volumes about how far they had come. Lucky, who had once flinched at her every movement, now looked to her for comfort and reassurance. One day, while playing in the park, Lucky did something that made Emma's heart swell. As they practiced a simple game of fetch, he ran back to her with the ball, his tail wagging furiously. When he dropped the ball at her feet, he looked up at her with eyes that no longer held fear but trust and affection. Emma knelt down and hugged him gently, feeling his small body lean into hers. "You're doing amazing, Lucky," she whispered, her voice filled with pride. Their bond was now undeniable, a testament to the power of patience and love. Lucky had gone from a frightened, abandoned puppy to a joyful companion who trusted Emma completely. Each shared moment, whether during playtime or quiet evenings at home, symbolized the strength of their connection, a bond built slowly but deeply, one act of kindness at a time. Progress had been steady, and Lucky's growing confidence filled Emma with pride. Each day brought new milestones, small but significant victories that reminded her of the strength they'd both shown. But healing is rarely linear, and one afternoon, Lucky's old fears came rushing back. It was a quiet Sunday when the setback occurred. Emma and Lucky were enjoying their usual playtime in the living room. Lucky chased a soft toy Emma tossed gently, his tail wagging with uncontainable joy. The sight warmed Emma's heart. It was hard to believe this was the same timid puppy she had found in the rain weeks ago. Then a sudden sharp noise shattered the calm. A car backfired loudly outside the apartment, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. Lucky froze mid-step, his toy dropping from his mouth. His wide eyes darted around the room, filled with the same terror Emma remembered from their first encounter. Before she could react, Lucky bolted, scrambling under the couch where he curled into a tight ball, his small body trembling violently. Emma's heart sank. She knelt near the couch, speaking softly. "It's okay, Lucky. You're safe. I'm right here." But her words seemed to do little to soothe him. His fearful eyes peeked out from the shadows, his ears pinned back against his head. Emma didn't dare reach for him, afraid her touch might amplify his panic. Instead, she stayed close, her voice a steady reassurance. As the minutes passed, Emma's own emotions surfaced. Seeing Lucky retreat into fear felt like a step backward, undoing all the trust they had built. Her chest tightened, but she refused to cry, knowing Lucky needed her calm strength now more than ever. For hours, Emma sat on the floor near the couch, reading aloud softly, letting Lucky know she was there, without pressuring him. It was heartbreaking to see him so small and scared again. But she reminded herself of the progress they'd made and the resilience Lucky had shown before. If they'd overcome hurdles once, they could do it again. The following day, Lucky was hesitant to leave his hiding spot, but Emma continued her patient care. She didn't rush him or coax him with treats. Instead, she created a calm, consistent environment, quietly moving around the apartment and keeping her routines gentle. Gradually, Lucky ventured out from under the couch, though his movements were cautious, his ears still pinned back. Emma made sure to celebrate every small step he took. When Lucky sniffed his food bowl and took a single bite, she smiled and praised him softly. When he hesitated at her approach but didn't retreat, her heart swelled with encouragement. "That's my brave boy," she murmured, kneeling down, to his level without making sudden movements. The breakthrough came a few days later. Emma sat on the floor, her back resting against the wall, holding Lucky's favorite soft toy. She rolled it gently toward him, the motion slow and non-threatening. Lucky watched the toy for a long moment, his body tense with indecision. Finally, with a hesitant step, he approached the toy, sniffing it cautiously. Emma didn't move, letting him set the pace. To her surprise, Lucky picked up the toy and turned toward her, his eyes searching hers. Slowly, he walked to her, the toy still in his mouth. When he dropped it at her feet, Emma couldn't hold back her tears. She reached out her hand, pausing to give him time to decide. Lucky stepped closer, pressing his nose against her palm. "You're so brave, Lucky," Emma whispered, her voice thick with emotion. She stroked his head gently, feeling him relax under her touch. It was a small moment, but it carried the weight of their entire journey, proof that trust, once broken, could be rebuilt with patience and love. As the days passed, Lucky's confidence returned in small increments. He began to play more freely again, and his tail wagged with a little more enthusiasm. The memory of the loud noise no longer froze him in fear, though he remained cautious around sudden sounds. Emma saw his resilience shining through, a testament to the progress they had made together. For Emma, the setback was a reminder of the fragility of trust, but also of its incredible strength when nurtured. Her commitment to Lucky deepened, fueled by the knowledge that her persistence could guide him through even the toughest moments. Each small victory reaffirmed her belief in the power of love to heal even the deepest scars. Though setbacks would come and go, Emma knew one thing for certain. Lucky wasn't the only one who had been transformed by their journey. Together, they were building something unbreakable, a bond that could weather any storm. Lucky was no longer the trembling, fearful puppy Emma had found shivering in the rain. With every passing day, his confidence blossomed, his once cautious steps now replaced by playful bounds around the apartment. His tail wagged freely, a joyous metronome of his newfound happiness. Lucky had discovered not only safety but also love, a transformative gift that gave him the courage to embrace life. One of the biggest milestones came during their trips to the park. At first, Lucky had been hesitant, sticking close to Emma's side and watching other dogs from a distance. But one sunny afternoon, something changed. A friendly golden retriever bounded over to greet him, wagging its tail in invitation. Lucky hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward, his own tail wagging timidly in response. Emma watched, with pride as Lucky joined in a playful game of chase, his barks of excitement blending with those of his new friend. Lucky also began mastering new skills. Emma introduced basic commands starting with sit and stay. At first, Lucky seemed confused, but with patience and encouragement, he quickly learned to follow her cues. The joy in his eyes as he received treats and praise made each session a bonding experience. Over time, he even learned tricks like giving a paw and fetching his favorite toy, a soft ball he'd carried since the early days of his recovery. These milestones were more than just moments of progress. They were symbols of Lucky's transformation. The puppy who had once flinched at every noise now greeted the world with curiosity and enthusiasm. His scars, both physical and emotional, were fading, replaced by a spirit that radiated resilience and love. As Lucky continued to thrive, Emma began to reflect on his future. Though she'd originally intended to foster him temporarily, their bond had grown deeper than she ever anticipated. Lucky had become an inseparable part of her life, and the thought of letting him go felt unimaginable. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Lucky curled up beside her with his head resting on her lap. Emma stroked his fur, her heart swelling with affection. "You've come such a long way, Lucky," she whispered. "I can't imagine life without you." In that moment, her decision was clear. Lucky had already found his forever home. The official adoption was a joyous occasion. Emma filled out the paperwork at the local shelter, her heart bursting with pride as she signed her name. "He's not just my dog," she told the staff. "He's my family." From that day forward, Lucky's life was filled with love and security. He became Emma's constant companion, joining her on hikes, lounging by her side during quiet evenings, and even accompanying her to volunteer events at local shelters. Together they became advocates for animal rescue, sharing Lucky's story to inspire others to open their hearts to animals in need. Lucky's journey, from a terrified puppy huddled in the rain to a confident and joyful companion, was a testament to the power of compassion and perseverance. His transformation wasn't just a happy ending, it was the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. For Lucky and Emma, their bond was unbreakable, a reminder that every act of kindness has the power to change a life forever. Lucky's journey is more than just a story about an abandoned puppy finding hope. It's a testament to resilience, compassion, and the transformative power of love. From trembling in fear under a broken bench to bounding through life with confidence and joy, Lucky's transformation shows us the incredible potential of second chances. This story serves as a powerful reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples of change. A moment of compassion, a passerby stopping to help, a rescuer offering warmth and safety, can be the difference between despair and a new beginning. Lucky's story encourages us to see the world through a lens of empathy, inspiring us to recognize the power we each hold to make a positive impact on the lives of others. Every animal deserves a chance to experience love, safety, and happiness. Lucky's journey isn't just his alone. It's a reflection of the many animals out there waiting for their own chance to heal, trust, and thrive. If this story has touched your heart, consider supporting your local animal rescue organizations. Whether it's through donations, volunteering, or adopting an animal in need, your efforts can help transform lives just like Lucky's. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Share your stories of hope and rescue in the comments below, and let's celebrate the power of compassion together. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more inspiring tales that remind us of the beauty and connection and kindness. Together we can continue to create a world where every life is given the love and care it deserves. Thank you for watching, and remember, every act of kindness counts.